السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته.
الحمد لله على إحسانه وشكر له على تفضله وامتنانه، ولا إله إلا الله تعظيما لشأنه، وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله داعي إلى رضوانه وعلى آله وأصحابه وإخوانه أما بعد. Dear brothers and sisters in Islam, we are continuing our lecture series regarding the minor signs of the Day of Judgment. We're taking sign number 11. Sign number 11, the Prophet ﷺ, he says, لا تقوم الساعة حتى يقاتل المسلمون ترك. The Prophet ﷺ, he says that the day of judgment will not come until the Muslims shall fight the people of Turkish origin. And the people of Turkish origin are the children of Yafith ibn Nuh alayhi salam. The Prophet Nuh alayhi salam, when he left this world, he had 3 children, and all of us come from those 3 children. And the Turks, the Chinese, the Mongolians, all these people, they come from Yafith ibn Nuh. So from the signs of the Day of Judgment, the Prophet ﷺ says that we Muslims shall fight people of Turkish origin. And he describes them, he says, صِغَارُ الْأَعْيُنِ, they have small eyes. He says, حُمُرُ الْوُجُوهِ, their face is red in complexion. Number 3, he says, ذُلُفُ الْأُنُفِ, their nose is wide and small. Then he says, كَأَنَّ وُجُوهَهُمْ الْمَجَانُ الْمُطْرَقَةِ, like their faces are beaten out shields. We said that this sign covers many of the Turkish people, and more particular the Tatar, the Mongolians. And we said the 3 worst Mongolians with regards to Islamic history and destruction of the Islamic empire. Who are they? Number 1, the founder of the Mongolians. What's his name? Genghis Khan, la'natullah alayh. He massacred many of the Muslims of the Dawla al-Khwarizmiyah, Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, Afghanistan, Kyrgyzstan, all this area. He massacred millions and millions of Muslims. Number 2, his grandson. What is the name of the grandson? Hulagu Khan. Hulagu Khan is the one who destroyed the city of, the capital city of the Muslims at the time was what? Baghdad. Which year? 656 of the Hijri calendar. So, Ikhwani fillah, most of the historians, they say that we Muslims were the head of civilization for most of our history. But with the destruction of Baghdad and destruction of the great library of Bayt al-Hikmah, from that date on, we went down as a civilization. Other people came up and we went down when it comes to this knowledge of astronomy, medicine, physics. We were the leaders in history, but after the attack on Baghdad by Hulagu Khan, we left that. Thereafter we mentioned, after a long period of massacre by the hands of the Mongolians, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave victory to the Muslims in the great battle of Ain Jalut. Which year? 658 of the Hijri calendar. Which month? Ramadan, 25th of Ramadan, which is a Friday. Taib. So these were the 2 worst Mongolians. Then a 3rd Mongolian comes, Ikhwani fillah. He's called Timur Lenk. Timur Lenk. Who is Timur Lenk, and what is the story of this man, and how does it fit the hadith of Prophet ﷺ? Timur Lenk, he was born in the year 736 of the Hijri calendar. 736 of the Hijri calendar. He was born in Uzbekistan. You know where Uzbekistan is? In South America or in Europe?
South America.
MashaAllah. Alhamdulillah, people in Kenya know the geography very well. Other people don't know these things. So he was born in Uzbekistan near the city of Samarkand. This man was born in the year 736. His father was a leader of the tribe. So he grows up in a family of, that is a well-known family in Uzbekistan at the time. Thereafter, this man becomes a bandit. He starts robbing people. One of his trips, he went with his friends, and he robs a farm. He steals some goats and some sheep. And the shepherds who are guarding the sheep, they shoot an arrow to him. It hits his thigh. Another one hits his hand. And from that day on, he became lame. He couldn't walk nicely. He became lame. So he was known from that day as Lenk. So his name is Timur Lenk. Timur the lame. Timur in the language of the Uzbekis means hadid. It means iron, steel. And Lenk means lame. Ikhwani fillah, this man became the leader of the Muslims in Samarkand. He was a Muslim, a Shia. He used to, a Shia, but even the worst form of Shiism. He was a Shia. So he became the leader of the Muslims in Uzbekistan. He conquered the lands of Uzbekistan, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Turkmenistan, and he did the same way as his great-grandfather Genghis Khan did. He was related to Genghis Khan, and he massacred millions of people in these lands. Thereafter, he entered Iran. He massacres the Muslims of Isfahan because the Muslims, they rebelled against him. And he did something very evil. He commanded all his generals to bring at least 2 heads of the people of Isfahan. So they beheaded the Muslims of Isfahan, and they built towers with their heads. They built buildings, towers, pyramids with the heads of the Muslims of Isfahan. He conquered the land of Iran, massacred the Muslims of Iran. Conquered Azerbaijan, massacred the Muslims of Azerbaijan. Entered Georgia, Armenia, massacred the people of Georgia, massacred the Muslims also in Chechnya and Grozny, until he captured the city of Moscow. So this guy was also a great murderer. The historians, they say this man killed 17 million people. He killed how many? 17 million people. And the vast majority of this 17 million were Muslims. He used to say that the only reason I'm attacking the land of the Muslims and I'm amongst the Muslims, as he was claiming, is the Muslims are wealthy. I have no need to attack the Europeans. The Europeans are poor. The Muslims have wealth, and we have to attack for this wealth. So he attacked all these lands. Then, thereafter, he hears that the leader of India, Firuz Shah, a Muslim leader, India was ruled by the Muslims for 1,000 years. We ruled it in a great manner. We did not harm the Indians. We did not persecute them like they're doing to us currently. So the leader of Delhi died, Firuz Shah. This guy, Timur, he says, I have to conquer Delhi on behalf of the Muslims. So he conquers Delhi, and subhanallah, he massacres in one day over 100,000 of the people of Delhi. And he destroys the city of Delhi so bad that the city of Delhi needs 150 years to recover. And he burns it completely to the ground. Thereafter, he has some khilaf with the Egyptian leader, the Mamaluk. So he says, I'm going to deal with Egypt next. And all the lands that Egypt controlled. Egypt was in control of Syria. So he goes with his army, just in summary, because you had a lecture before Maghrib. In summary, he goes to Iraq first, destroys Baghdad. The same way his relative, Hulagu Khan did. He destroys the city of Kufa, the city of Basra. He destroys the city of Wasit in Iraq. Then he goes to Turkey. He destroys Anatab and comes to the city of Halab. He besieges the city of Halab for days. The Muslims surrender. Enters, kills 20,000 of the Muslims of Halab. And once again, he builds towers with the heads of the Muslims in Halab. Thereafter, he goes, conquers the city of Hama, massacres the Muslims of Hama, comes to Damascus. The Muslims fight bravely, but they're not able to fight this man, Timur. He enters the city of Damascus, the capital city of Bani Umayyah, and he massacres many of the Muslims, many of the ulama. So he does so much until he goes to burn the mosque, the grand mosque of Damascus, the mosque of Bani Umayyah. Why? Because he's a Shia, he hates the Umayyads. At the same time, in Turkey, a new country was coming up. This is the country of the Ottomans. The founder is called Uthman, the son of Ertugrul, the son of Suleiman Shah. This is the founder of the Ottoman Empire. So Uthman, he dies. His son takes over, called Urkhan. Urkhan dies, another of his children takes over, it's called Murad the First. Murad the First dies, then comes the person who was the leader at the time, Bayezid as-Sa'iqa. Bayezid, the Thunderbolt, one of the great heroes of Islamic history. When this man became a leader, the first challenge he got, the Europeans formed the largest army ever in the history of Europe at the time. An army of over 200,000, 300,000 soldiers to come and attack Bayezid as-Sa'iqa. Because he had conquered Serbia, he had conquered Bulgaria, he had conquered many of the European countries. So they meet in a place called Nicopolis. And the Muslims, they fought bravely and they defeated the Europeans in their all alliance because of his leader Bayezid as-Sa'iqa. When he does this, Bayezid as-Sa'iqa, he goes to the city of Constantinople, Constantinia. He remembers the hadith of Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam. The Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam says in an authentic hadith, لا تفتحن قسطنطينية فلا نعم الأمير أميرها ولا نعم الجيش ذلك الجيش. He says, all Muslims, you shall conquer the city of Constantinople, the capital city of the Christians, the capital city of Byzantine. You shall conquer this city. فلا نعم الأمير أميرها ولا نعم الجيش ذلك الجيش. A blessed leader is the leader who conquers the city of Constantinople. And a blessed army is the army that conquers this city. So from the time of the Sahaba, they used to understand this hadith. The people like Abu Ayyub al-Ansari, they used to look forward to conquering the city of Constantinople, what is currently known as the city of Islam, Istanbul. So Bayazid al-Sa'iqa, he goes and besieges the city of Constantinople, and he was about to conquer it. But qadar Allah wa ma sha'a fa'al, he was not the one who was based on this hadith. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did not decree for him to do this. Why? Because as he was about to conquer it, this musibah of this evil man that we're talking about in this lecture, Timur Lank, he comes with his army from Asia, an army of 300, 400,000, and he attacks the Muslims in Turkey. When Bayazid hears this, he leaves Constantinople with his small army of 100,000, rushes to meet Timur Lank. But when he comes to the battlefield in Ankara, that is the capital city of Turkey currently, his army is tired. And the army of Timur Lank is hundreds of thousands, like 400, 500,000 large. And they fight in the battle of Ankara. And this man, rahimahullah, Bayazid al-Sa'iqa, he was captured. The leader, the sultan of the Muslims in that area, he was captured by Timur Lank, and Timur Lank took him as his prisoner until he died a few months later. This is one of the greatest tragedies to happen to the Muslims in the world, and more particular in the Dawla Uthmaniyya. But the great news happened. It did not end there with the Ottomans. We said the first leader of the Ottomans was Uthman, the son of Urtugul. The second one was Urkhan. The third one was Murad, the first. The fourth one was this man, Bayazid al-Sa'iqa. A while later, his son, one of his young sons, Muhammad the first, managed to conquer what was destroyed by Timur Lank. Thereafter, after Muhammad the first, came his son Murad the second, and after Murad the second came the hero of the Muslims, Muhammad al-Fatih, who conquered the city of Istanbul, the city of Constantinople in the year 857 of the Hijri calendar. One of the greatest victories ever, not only in Islamic history, in world history. For this city is known as the city that cannot be conquered, but it was conquered by this man, Muhammad al-Fatih. And on the hadith of the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam, لا تفتحن قسطنطينية فلا نعم الأمير أميرها ولا نعم الجيش ذلك الجيش. Going back to our man, the Timur Lank that we're talking about, after he finished the Muslims in Turkey, he comes back to Syria, la'natullah alayh, and he comes to the city of Halab, the city of Aleppo. He burns it again. He goes to Baghdad, burns it again, and he goes back to Samarkand, and he prepares a great army to attack China. He has massacred over 17 million Muslims in our history. As he is planning to go to China, a disease befalls him. La'natullah alayhi min Allah ma yastahiq. He passes away. Ikhwani fillah, sometimes you ask yourself a question as a historian, a person who lives history, who is worse amongst all three of them? Is the worst one Genghis Khan? In the year 617 of the Hijri calendar, he massacred the populations of Iran, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Turkmenistan, all these areas of the Muslims, so much so that the population of the Muslims did not recover in that area until this century. Almost how many centuries later? About 6, 7, 8 centuries. Who's worse, Genghis Khan? Or who is worse, Hulagu Khan? Hulagu Khan destroyed the city of Baghdad and killed over 1 million Muslims, destroyed the Khilafah and killed the Khalifa of the Muslims, Al-Mu'tasim, not Al-Musta'sim. And he destroyed the city of Damascus, destroyed the city of Halab. He did destroy the city of Damascus. He conquered the city of Damascus. Or who is worse, this man that we're talking about tonight, Timur Lank. So from the signs of the Day of Judgment, as mentioned by Prophet ﷺ, is that people of Turkish origin shall destroy the Muslims, shall take the rulership from the Muslims. And one amazing thing, ikhwan fillah, about the signs of the Day of the Judgment is Prophet ﷺ, his words are very clear. There's nothing to guess about his words. He says the Arabs are going to compete in building tall buildings. It's clear. We're going to look at this sign later on. He says, alayhi salam, people are going to engage in riba. People are going to be untrustworthy. People are going to drink alcohol and give it a different name. The Prophet alayhi salam, when it comes to his prophecies, it's very clear. I remember when we used to be in primary school, we used to be taught Christian religious education, CRE. And sometimes you find the teacher, he's trying to force things that you cannot understand. They tell you 666. I don't know if you were taught in school. So some of the things they talk about they are forcing it. You can't even understand. It's not clear what the prophecies are when it comes to other religion. But the Prophet ﷺ, his prophecies are clear to show that he is indeed the Prophet of Allah. Whoever disbelieves in him, Jannah is haram. So in the next lectures in Ikhwani Fillah, we shall take more signs of the Day of Judgment. Wallahu alam. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.